Okay, this sermon does have a title. The name of the title for this sermon is, the words that you are about to hear do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of South Church, of North Church, of the Vermont Conference, but they are true and they are from God. Pretty presumptuous on my part, isn't it? But I'm leaving. What are you going to do? Bill and Elise. God love you. Okay. He doesn't have anything in front of him. For all I know, he's just saying, this guy is crazy. Yeah. And they're laughing, going, oh yeah! Bill and Elisa, their farewell sermons were so touching and endearing. Well, Elisa's, I think we would call it more like a speech, the way, but no, we kid because we love her. Mine is going to be a little different because I just view ministry a little differently. I come from the perspective of a second career pastor. Now, I wasn't one of those that went high school, college, seminary, and then spent the next 75 years in the church. Did you do that, Tom? Second career person? Okay, took a break. Bert, straight through?
Including Navy.
Yeah, Navy, yeah. You did a lot of praying in the Navy, I'll bet, yeah. Yeah, so I bring some different ideas and different perspectives. So you always need to keep that in mind. I saw that the lectionary text included this on Peter, and I thought, this is perfect. It really is. Because we, and I mean we, are in that position where we are being called to something different. To step out, to take that leap of faith that's no less threatening or scary than Peter walking out on the water. We're talking about the possibility of creating something new and different. And any time in any church that you use the words new and different in the same sentence, people freak. Because church is one of those places people want the same thing to happen all the time, even when it doesn't work. Einstein says that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing repeatedly, hoping for a different response. We, and I'm going to be using that a lot, we have been doing things the same way for many, many, many years. Many years before me, and in my time here. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I have some news for you. It ain't working. It ain't. People aren't paying attention. Why? The world is changing. Things need to change. The church needs to change. The identity, the understanding of what it means to be church needs to change. The way that the church reaches out to the community needs to change to reflect the needs of the community. But in order to do that, you have to go out into the community to ask people what they want. But church people, for the most part, are afraid to do that because it will mean that things will have to change. And I think we've already made clear that change is something we don't like to happen in the church. So we're kind of stuck in this catch-22 thing. Well, due to the unbelievable presence of God's Holy Spirit, in the last 18 months or so, things have transpired that have made change a real possibility. But when we first talked about it, I would give it maybe a 20-80% chance of working. 20% that it would, 80 that it wouldn't. I'm actually more optimistic now. I'm at about 65-35. I'm feeling good about this, that there's something here that can happen, and it's because of the confluence of events that have been happening. Beloved pastor of 30 years leaving the church. Church is looking for a new identity now. I'm not telling anybody anything nobody knows. It's different. We used to have Jay there to tell us what to do, or to guide us, or to lead us. Now, we have to consider it. And that's scary. See, South Church is way ahead of the curve on that, because they had, by their own admission, when we first got together, they had this period of vacuum where the lay leadership took care of the church. So all of a sudden, they get a new pastor that comes in and says, hey, I got some ideas and things that we're going to do. And they say, no, whoa, slow down a minute, Sparky. We've been doing pretty good for ourselves, and we got some ideas on how things should be. Now that was wonderful, to be a part of a strong lay leadership, a real gift, and something that hopefully North Church will learn from. Now, all of a sudden, the much-liked pastor of 2.5 years, see, I didn't go into the beloved category of Jay, the much-liked pastor of 2.5 years, well, now he's leaving. So now we have two churches that, when I was in my prime, could have thrown a baseball. It would have taken me 2 times, but I could have thrown from South Church to North Church probably, with a little bit of a roll. But they're that close. Now, all of a sudden, both churches have this pastoral void. No, let's not call it that. Let's call it an opportunity in identity. Discerning who we are and who God calls us to be. This is an unbelievable gift. And the conference leadership is going, we got something going here. This has a real possibility. And the people are talking. And you're being nice to each other. You're sharing meals together. The walls have not fallen down. If anything, come on, be honest, rhetorical question, because I don't want to embarrass anybody. Isn't it nicer to see more people in the church for a worship service than to just have half? That's nice. That's nice. So what I would like to do is to give you some thoughts and ideas that I have that do not necessarily reflect the ideas and opinions of the leadership of North Church or of South Church, and I know for a fact do not reflect the ideas of the conference staff, but that's okay. I'll never see Pam again. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. And also because I have a nice fan going right here. And it's really much cooler than out there. Some thoughts, some things to consider, keeping in mind the perspective that I bring. Business world, you see something that needs to be done. Anyone that's a business person out there, what do? You do it, right? You fix it. You address the problem. So that's where I'm at. First is, and some of these have already been talked about, so I just want to affirm them. I think that the worship services need to stay union. And it should be on a monthly basis. I really like the Lower Waterford, East St. J model that they have shown us. 1 month here, 1 month there, 1 month here, 1 month there, rather than every week, because quite frankly, it gets confusing when it's every week. If you know even months here, odd months there, I think that could really work in building it up. I think you need to work together and establish a joint newsletter. I don't care what you call it, but a joint newsletter Not a south letter, not a north letter, but one that is comprised of information from both congregations. The big benefit to that is nobody can say, we didn't know that. Everything that is happening at both churches, everybody knows about. So if there's a Bible study happening at North and the people at South would like to be a part of it, but they don't know about it because it's not in their newsletter, they're going to miss it. A joint newsletter would begin to not begin to, but would continue the process of amalgamating the congregations. I don't know, I've talked just a little bit with Brian about this, I don't know how tough it would be, but I really think you need to find a way to tape the worship services at North Church. You know, we have the blessing here of being able to do them, and then they're downloaded and they're televised on the local cable access. So for the month that worship service is here, everybody is seeing everything. But at the work time where the worship services are at North, then again we have this void. Now the other thing that has as a real possibility, I think, and as a real encouragement, is that the community out there begins to see that North and South are working together. So that the little screen would say a union service of North and South congregation, or South and North, however you want to put it. But so that, again, the word is getting out there into the community. These are people that are looking at sharing their gifts and their graces to serve the risen Christ and the living God. I think that it would be a really, really good idea to spend a few dollars. It's easy because it's not my dollars, but spend a few dollars and hire a contractor. Hire a contractor to start at the steeple and work down to the very bottom of both churches and write down everything that needs to be done. Everything. So that the assembled body can look at it and say, okay, Church A, whoa, in order to get us going in the next 10 years, it's going to cost us a couple of $1 million. Church B, it's going to cost us a few $100,000. Just something, again, to look at, to be able to see, and to get a sense. One of the hardest things for people to get over is the loss of place. Because the place is so much the identity that people have. We need to remember that Jesus said, foxes have dens and something to the effect of chickens have coops, I don't know, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Jesus didn't have a church to go to. The world was Jesus' church. It didn't matter where the worship happened, just that the worship did. Now that being said, whichever church is the selected place needs to be open to some compromise as far as changing things are concerned. Making it our place. Not your place that we're coming to, but our place. We've had a number of friends, and I'm sure you have too over the years, that have gone through divorce, and the husband or the wife will get the house and the divorce, and then they'll get remarried, and they'll move into this absolutely beautiful house, and the person that's moving in said, we need to buy a new home. Because this was yours and Fred's home, or yours and Wilma's home. We need to have our home. And just start over fresh. You need to be open to all the different possibilities. I think, and this was not my idea, and I will not embarrass the person that brought this up, but it was one of those, I truly believe this was God speaking. This was a total unbelievable revelation. Is that one of the people that you need to get working with you is somebody that knows how to do a new church start. You need to become a new congregation. Not north, south, not south, north. Y'all know I've been calling it Fred since we've started on this, but St. Johnsbury Community Church. Just something different. But the problem is, you're going to be coming together as the same people with the same mindsets. Now, you're all wonderful, wonderful, loving people. But all of you, and I can say you now because I'm going to be leaving, and what are you going to do to me? All of you have the same mindsets that you've had. You bring in somebody that knows how to start a church fresh and new, and they're going to be bringing new ideas. They're going to be going out into the community in new and different ways to see what the community wants. Maybe one of the things that is really missing is a youth center, a place for kids to go for homework or just to drop in and have games and stuff for them to play. Whichever place you went to has a beautiful fellowship area that could very easily be turned into something like that. Things like that are beyond our comprehension because we're used to thinking of our churches in certain ways. And you get somebody that's open to anything. There is no box. And he or she are going to be able to bring some new ideas, to breathe new life into a new place. And quite frankly, to breathe new life into old people. Not old as in chronological, but old as in we've been doing this for a long time. And we haven't been seeing a whole lot of positive results. And we just want to see something. So I think somebody with that gift, with that talent, would be somebody to talk to. Now I know, and the South Church folks can tell you, that I believe his name is Jim Scoville, that used to be up here. He's in Arizona now doing new church starts. So maybe you get anybody that's interested, forget the executive committees, anybody that's interested, get together on a night, you set up with Jim and do a Skype interview. Jim, this is what we're thinking. Tell us what you think. Because you already know St. Johnsbury a little bit. And you get some ideas, you get some thoughts about this going, and then you let it go from there. We need to stop being mired in the way it's always been done, because the way it's always been done ain't working anymore. Last, but not least, and the one that I know I'm going to get the most grief about, but I think we've already established that I'm leaving tomorrow, so I think you need to do it soon. God created the earth in 7 days, as the story goes. And do you know how God was able to do it in 7 days? God did not have to work through committees. Jesus didn't work in committees. You look at the great people of the Bible. Look at Abraham. God said, Abraham, stop everything you're doing. Sell it all. Leave the comfort that you have established for your family in Ur and go to this pile of rocks and deserts by the Mediterranean Sea. And the first thing Abraham did was went to his local synagogue and said, I need a committee to study these words from God. No, first off, there were no synagogues because there weren't Jews. That was a trick thought. But Abraham said, okay, God, I'm going. God said to Noah, Noah, it's going to rain. Build an ark. Did Noah establish a building committee? No. He got the kids together and he said, start cutting wood. Followed God. And all through the Old Testament and New Testament, the people that did things, that accomplished things, did them because they had faith and trust in God. Now, I am not saying for 1 second that there isn't the need to have discussion. Are there differences between North Church and South Church? Yes, there are. But as someone that's had the privilege to serve South Congregational Church and the privilege to get to know many of you at North Church, you ain't that much different. You're really not. You're the same people. You're separated by, what, 3/10, 4/10 of a mile? And 2 buildings. That's it. It really is. This ain't rocket science. Let's face it. At both of our churches, We can look around on any given Sunday when we're not in union services and tell me you don't feel a little depressed looking around knowing you can count all the people on your fingers and toes. Wasn't last week unbelievable? The church was really, really filled up. It took 6 congregations to do that. 6 churches came to do that. Now that tells me that all the churches are in the same position we are, save for the Catholic Church, because we don't count them because they have that old guilt thing and they have to go to church. We're Protestants, you can't tell us anything. And if the weather's nice, I'm going to camp. But looking at that last week, I knew, and you know, and they know, that the way things are happening can't go on. Not for North Church, not for South Church, not for Grace United Methodist Church or St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. 6 congregations counting East St. J and Lower Waterford. And we had 110 people. That's great. But divide that by 6. That ain't so great. That tells me that all the churches are having a problem. So my thought is, again, bringing the business mindset to it. If you see that there's a problem occurring now, and you see that there's a better than average chance that the problem is going to continue down the road, then you start to prepare down the road. Which again is something that churches are not really good at. We deal with this week's potluck, and we're real happy and proud of ourselves. But to think 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we're not so good. But think about creating St. Johnsbury Community Church, UCC. Getting that started, getting that growing and flourishing, bringing in new mindsets, bringing in new mission, reaching out to the people as the people want it. Not as we want to do it, but as they need, even if it's uncomfortable for us. I guarantee you, put it in writing. The other churches are going to be having the same problems down the road, and eventually it's going to be, folks, we can't keep the doors open. Well, gee, we've been a part of Grace United Methodist Church since Grandma. We can go to the Methodist Church in Littleton, but it's really kind of far. Let's try this community church. They seem like they know what they're doing. They seem to be, they're enjoying themselves. And they're reaching out to people. They're excited. Let's give it a shot. Before you know it, you have 6 churches in one church. Because that one church had the foresight and the faith and the courage to trust in God and to go a new direction. Now, does that mean that North Church and South Church disappear? Of course not. It's no different than a marriage. When Kathy and I got married, Kathy did not lose her identity. I kept some of my identity. Is she smiling? And we built a family with their identity that will go on and will go on and go on. So the foundation will always be there. Will always be strong, will always be sure. And it is because of that strong, firm foundation that great things can be done. And I truly believe can be done soon. What you need to do is to bring yourselves together. Pray for each other constantly, so that the people of North are praying for the people of South, who are praying for the people of North, who are all praying for each other. And you need to look at each other, and as you decide how things are going to go and what's going to happen, you keep in mind one thing, and that is, do to the other person what you would want done to you. Make the charter for compassion the charter and the creed by which this new identity comes together. Forget dogma, forget creeds, forget statements of faith. People get bogged down, people get lost, people get turned off. People want to be treated lovingly and respectfully. If you, each and every one of you, can treat each other as the churches come together with compassion, if you can treat all those in the community with love and compassion, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever but that unbelievable things will happen here in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. I truly believe with all my heart that you folks can become the catalyst for something that will shape not just St. Johnsbury and the Northeast Kingdom, but the Vermont Conference and the state of Vermont itself. People are too used to seeing churches falling away and dying. It happens all too often anymore. What they're not used to seeing is two communities putting their slight, and they are here, slight differences apart, putting them aside and coming together and saying what's important is not us. What's important is the message of the gospel. What's important is the presence of compassion here to the people of St. Johnsbury. If, and I truly pray, not going to use when it happens here, you will all, each and every one of you, St. Johnsbury and the Northeast Kingdom will be so much better. You will be blessed. And God will provide. Now I say it, and I know it sounds pretty easy. But I got to tell you something. It ain't rocket science. And it ain't that hard. It really isn't. Y'all know what needs to be done. You do. What you need to do is do it. You need to overlook the winds and the rains and the storms, the chaos and the turmoil that may be part of it. And you need to trust in God, and trust in the presence of God's Holy Spirit. And step out onto the water in faith. Unlike Peter, though, just keep walking. Just do it. Amen.